What is going on, everybody? It's a special edition of Pop Culture Crisis in that we are about to review Episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney+. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Please introduce yourself, please.
What is up, Crisis Actors? It's Mary, coming back at you with no knowledge of Star Wars.
And me with basic knowledge of Star Wars, and then we have our resident Star Wars expert. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Andrew. Well, it's nice to be back.
Our Star Wars
excited
expert.
To get right back in.
Just he brings a notepad. Show them the notepad.
I do bring a notepad. You got to see. Last week, oh man, we were going off. This thing is
mostly
full.
You were going off.
Yes.
I was going off. Yes, correct.
I was more
the royal we. You know.
I was more or less like, it is what it is. It's Star Wars. It's fine. It is what it is. But we're gonna talk about Episode 3, and I think right off the bat, I think my number one thing is that the pacing is just too damn slow.
It continues to follow.
So let's tell people what this episode was about, first of all. So essentially, they have escaped the clutches of Reva just ever so slightly, right? At the end of Episode 2. That's Obi-Wan and Leia Organa. Not... Just so
the name
stuck with me. So they've escaped. What planet are they on?
So they're on a planet called Mapuzo, which hasn't shown up in any mainline Star Wars.
So that
why are they coming up with all of these new planets?
Some of them come from Legends books. I don't know if this one is or not. I'm not up to date on the.
So it's lore from like the expanded universe.
Yeah. So you remember last week we talked about the extended universe a little bit. That was. Basically, when Disney acquired Star Wars, they threw out all the old extended universe, which was other authors aside from George Lucas writing content.
Yep.
And then they've replaced it with their Legends, which is the same kind of ordeal, but just has been created since that acquisition. Yep. So it's content that's Star Wars, but outside of all of the movies and the TV shows.
So before we get started, we are going to talk spoilers, I'm sure. We'll get into it. So this is a discussion, not just a review. So first, I guess we'll do the breakdown first. So they're on the planet... Mapuzo, and they are trying to outrun Reva and get to. They're going. They don't even know where they're going, right?
So this is the continuation of Obi-Wan's rescue of Leia. They've gotten off of the previous planet of Dayu, and they're on Mapuzo now, basically trying to get back to Alderaan, presumably. Okay, so the idea here that the first thing that stuck with me is a lot of people who are very invested in Star Wars feel that what they're experiencing is a bait and switch by making Leia the prime one he's protecting, when in the lore it's Obi-Wan that he would be normally. Yeah,
it's Luke that he would normally be.
It seems odd to me. So again, we talked last week about how, of course, Obi-Wan is there to protect Luke. And then, I'm trying to blank on his name.
In what scene?
Her adopted father.
Oh, I always forget his name. Bail.
Bail, yeah.
Something I don't. No, it can't be it.
No, it is. It is Bail. Bail
okay.
Organa. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's protecting Leia, and it seems like they went to decent lengths so far to make sure that they keep. Well, at least again through 3 episodes, they've kept with. Obi-Wan not really having much interaction with Luke, which is our understanding from A New Hope.
Yes.
And yet there's a lot of interaction between him and Leia.
Yes.
And it seems
which goes against
focused on that side.
Which goes against the previous canon, right?
Right.
Okay. So they're trying to escape, and they land here, and there's this really funny scene. I have to point out off the bat when he's like, "No, Leia, it's dangerous. It's so bad."
The way he's just not stopping her in any way.
It's the way he says it. Like I was like, I actually physically kind of recoiled.
Don't talk to strangers.
It's not. Yeah, like it's the way. It's like he couldn't have done anything better with the dialogue. Ewan McGregor's
fantastic. Are they trying to make this extremely kid appropriate?
I guess.
Just so the dialogue is as simple as possible.
No, Leia, it's not safe.
But then 3 scenes later, we have a stormtrooper fall on lasers and get completely sliced in half. So
yes.
Yeah, I don't know what the goal is
tonal
here.
disconnect.
Also, there's a really funny thing there where they work to get the laser gate open, but they could just walk around
right,
it.
We mentioned that too.
So
why?
so we're skipping through a little bit here, but
they're looking to escape to another planet. We're just giving the basic.
They're basically trying to bum rides off of random people they find.
And Reva is in route trying to find them for Lord Vader, who she interacts with in this episode, and we do see Hayden Christensen as Lord, or do we see him? We just see Lord Vader.
So it is. It is him in the suit, and it is voiced by James Earl Jones.
Yes, it is.
Which I will say, he sounds fantastic.
The best part of the episode was actually seeing hearing James Earl Jones' voice.
Yeah, and it sounded great. I don't know if they did any kind of manipulation to the voice because
there's already
yes, there is modulation they do to it, but
to make it sound more mechanical slightly.
His voice sounds a lot different now than it did back when they shot the original.
I'm sure they
Star Wars.
pitch correct and adjust it. It may to be. I don't know. Does your voice get deeper or does your voice get higher?
His voice certainly got deeper, which is hard to imagine. But
so maybe they had
whatever
to actually,
they did to it, it sounds amazing.
Yes, it sounds fantastic. Also, that was Zach Braff's voice for the Frank? What was the guy's name? The one who picks him up. I don't know.
Freck. How could I forget?
Sounded like Frank to me when I listened to it, but like that was Zach Braff's voice. And somebody like when I was reading up on the synopsis before we watch it, I was like, I thought I heard that voice somewhere. I'm like, oh yeah, Scrubs.
I did not pick up on that.
Yes,
interesting. What a character, Freck.
Yes,
a classic to be sure.
That makeup.
He died, right?
I don't think he died.
No, he got like Batman style pistol whipped.
Yeah, like
knocked out.
He wasn't going to get taken out.
So we're gonna see Freck again.
We may see Freck again.
Well, he's like everyone likes a little order. Like the guy was totally a lackey for the for the Empire.
Yeah. Very predictably, he turns on them.
And then, what's the name of the female character that comes in after to like help them? Tala, played by Indira Varma, who is a fantastic actress. That scene was kind of like, I don't know. It's just have Reva and Tala fight it out. And let's just get this over with. I say.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that, but so yeah, let's go back to. I want to talk about that scene where with the laser gate. So. Of course, they're bumming rides off of random dudes, and they run into stormtroopers, as you do, because they're just apparently patrolling the barren grasslands. I'm not really sure what they were doing there, but at any rate, we have this run-in, and, Obi-Wan has to step out and actually...
Yep. And before that, we actually do see Hayden Christensen, don't we? Because we see like he has like a vision of him that's not really there.
Yes.
On the
it's so far away.
But that is him. It looked like him. That was Anakin's, right? So that's kind of that was probably the one part of the episode. I was like, wow, this could get pretty good, and then it just kind of went. It's just so slow. The pacing is just so slow. So the gate. What was it about the gate?
Yeah, so there's this funny moment where after Obi-Wan dispatches the stormtroopers, there's this laser gate that's blocking the way because this was like a stop checkpoint for any transports going through, and so he takes a little bit of time to deactivate the gate, which you're assuming he's going to deactivate the gate so he can drive the speeder through. But then they just walk through it. When there was space to walk around it, you just couldn't drive a speeder past it.
So maybe like comedic relief that we didn't pick up on?
I mean, it was comedic relief.
But it would have been...
I don't think that was
not intentional.
No,
okay.
It would have been timed differently if it was for comedic relief.
Yeah.
Plus, I was like, is he just scared to drive over the stormtrooper bodies? Is that his problem? He doesn't want to ruin the axle on Freck's car?
Who knows? It's a weird detail that I'm annoyed by, but it's just like very strange.
Yes.
Very strange.
Okay, so what next? Then they get picked up and they go and there's kind of exposition dump where like Leia talks to what's her name to Tala, and you get a lot of dialogue there, and it's just
Can I just say Leia's dialogue is so obnoxious.
Yes,
so young Sheldon.
It's almost impossible for me to listen to because I'm like, no kid actually talks like that.
Yeah, and we touched on this last week too. In the first 2 episodes, it was like that, but not every line. This one, man.
And I don't mean to completely like shit on the actress.
No.
But I get that she's a kid. But even when she was saying a line that was supposed to be like emotional in some way, it was just completely blank. Her voice.
Leia. It's dangerous.
She was only changing her voice, not her face.
And then they screw up the thing with or they're on Freck's car and like she slips up. No, he slips up and calls her Leia rather than whatever the name was that she gave them. So she's like getting him into trouble right away. Like, let's just get picked up by these random people. Like, you're in charge, dude. Don't let her. Like, he's like letting her dictate the entire journey. She's like 2 years old. Like
basically, Leia is a 2-year-old girl boss.
Yes, she is. Yas Queen lightsaber slay.
Right. And that moment where Obi-Wan has this slip up, and then he kind of explains it away as her reminding him of her mother. It had the potential to be a really nice moment because he's telling this story for the benefit of the stormtroopers, but really he's telling the truth because he does see Padme's face in her.
Yes,
and it's like you see the emotion that he has when he's talking about.
And those are where he's at his best. There, any 100%. Scene that focuses on an extreme close up of Ewan McGregor's facial expressions as he's acting is the best stuff you're going to get out of these episodes because he emotes very well on camera, especially given that he's like covered by mostly facial hair. So he's like it's a lot of kind of emotional acting with his eyes that is like the few bright spots that I've, because the lightsaber fights weren't cool either.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But I just want to say, like, that moment, I really wanted to enjoy it as fully as I could have, but it's just wrapped in this bizarre scene that is just like kind of weirdly goofy, and it could have been a very sincere moment, and I think that's what they tried for, but it falls a little flat, at least for me. Yes.
And then next, at intermittent points there, we do see Reva interact with the other Inquisitors, right? And she's like, I can't do it, man. She's like, this is on the director.
I honestly think her dialogue is worse than mine.
This is on the director for not telling her to do more. Like, I'm contrasting it with Ewan McGregor's ability to emote very well with his eyes and facial expressions in spite of poor dialogue. And she's got the poor dialogue, and the director's not telling her. He's like, maybe you should look like mildly interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what happens there. So there's this scene where, so if you recall last time in the second episode of the show, she basically backstabs, or I guess front stabs, the Grand Inquisitor.
Yes.
Because she's trying to take over his
Which
position.
people were angry about.
I'm going to get to it.
Yes.
But, so she does that, and then there's sort of this power struggle between the remaining Inquisitors. And so there's this scene where she and the other, I forget his name.
The actor Sung Kang. I don't know the name of that character. Actually,
but they're kind of going back and forth, and she basically says that, Vader gave her these.
He's the fifth brother.
The fifth brother.
And she's, and here it lists her as Inquisitor Reva, but she's also the third sister.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, so they're having this little power struggle back and forth, and then she basically says that, Darth Vader gave her these orders, which I expected it to either be like she made that up and was bluffing to as a power grab, or we would see some more explanation of that. So I'm still not really sure
as to why they're like, she has this connection with him that isn't really explained.
Right.
Is
so
she
that's
just?
A bit odd to me.
That's what I'm saying. If she's like, because it's clear that what that character is supposed to be is almost irredeemably ambitious and out for, I guess, is it vengeance that she's looking for because of what happened to her when she was young?
Perhaps, right. And this goes back to what I talked about last time, where if it's the case that she was one of the students who escaped Order 66 in the temple, then, that would explain maybe.
So her acting does not match the demeanor of what her character is supposed to be portraying.
The vibe that I got from their conversation, their argument, the two Inquisitors, is that they're trying to decide who should become class president.
And that guy's like,
who should be, carrying out this very important task that bears a lot of weight on the galaxy and their feelings and all of this.
And the fifth brother's like, I have seniority. I'm next in line.
I'm the good noodle.
Exactly.
And she's like,
I'm going to put soda in the fountains.
But even then, she's like, she still gives orders, and one of the other Inquisitors listens to her.
Right.
Like, and it's like, why are they listening to you? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, because they just take her word for it too. She says that Vader gave her these orders, and they just accept that. Vader didn't contact them, which he could very well have done.
Well, and then later, like, she's like he goes to Vader first. They're all like vying for Vader's affection, which is super weird. He's like, we already told her. He's like, no, you're not going to be a credit hog or something like that. I'm like, it's like an intergalactic battle for like the universe. Why do you care about like who talks about credit hogs when this stuff is going on? This is so weird.
Yeah.
So from there, like, she is to me she could have been the saving grace of this show. That character. Again, this is nothing on the actress. I do believe that this is on Deborah Chow as the director. Like, it's like, hey, maybe like match the intensity of the scene you're in. Like, they're going for like emotionless kind of. I like, you can't be both emotionless and power hungry in a weird way.
And also, she lashes out at random times, which would suggest that she's not cold and calculated.
Exactly. So it's like
rash decisions that tend to be bad.
She's muted half the time, and then the other half the time she kind of just explodes, which makes no sense. It kind of reminds me of Kylo Ren, who would just intermittently freak out, which was never scary. Ever.
Correct.
Like, literally the opposite of scary. And it's not scary when she does it either. She doesn't come off as intimidating. I just think that's on, like, she's just miscast. Like, almost make her, like, switch her in Kang and the fifth brother. Like, switch those roles to where she's the one who's, like, saying his line, and he wants to be the one, like, that has the connection with Vader. I think he would have done a better job of doing that part of that dialogue.
I would say so, yeah, because she's a very important character in the show. I mean, She has almost as much screen time as Obi-Wan.
It feels like, at the very least, pretty close to the same amount. And her interactions are with more characters because he's mostly interacting with Leia up to this point. So we get past the guarded red gate, and then they go what, underground?
Yeah. So there's this scene that's basically there to separate Leia and Obi-Wan.
Which, of course, is also, I want to point out, like, I'm sorry, like, they needed to cut the part where he was like, Obi-Wan, like, her trying to do, like, a taunting schoolgirl, like, schoolyard voice was the least scary thing I've literally ever heard in my entire life. It's, even as a taunt, it falls short. It's just bad. So, okay, so they go underground, and that's, like you said, this is a plot device to separate Obi-Wan and Leia, which, of course,
to be pessimistic about
nothing bad ever happens when the characters, it's like you go upstairs and I'll go downstairs.
Right.
Like, nothing bad ever happens when they do that in the movies.
Yeah. Effectively, so they receive help from this rebel Tala who is acting. She's employed by the Empire, but she's acting as a rebel. So
she's like, we've got safe houses all over the place. Okay, so and also so how long are they down there? Like, there's a conversation between her and Leia, and then you see the scene where Vader comes out and basically crosses he's like looking for Obi-Wan because now that he knows
So, okay, he's force sensitive, right? So he can find them.
Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Very much so. Like extremely. Like,
so that's
he's kind of like one of the best,
So that's a plot hole.
He find them.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. So pretty quickly after they get into this supposedly safe house, the Inquisitors and Darth Vader land on the planet, and Darth Vader, starts slowly approaching Obi-Wan.
And force choking and killing literally everyone.
Yeah,
he was just throwing a whole tantrum, throwing things around.
There's this weird sequence where when Darth Vader is walking towards where Obi-Wan is, he's just grabbing these random civilians. They're not rebels. They're just like people in their houses. And it feels a little bit like the tone is very strange. It's very dark. He just like literally force grabs them out of windows and chokes them to death.
Like drags them around.
Like, I get that this is supposed to be kind of an unhinged Vader, but I don't think we've ever really seen him just randomly killing, like.
And it was done like as a cheap way of building emotional resonance to the scene, and tension and fear, which they could have done with slow walking and music, to be honest.
Well, they did plenty of that.
But I don't think they needed the or show the people cowering as he walks by. Like, you don't need to show him doing that. I don't think it was necessary to the scene.
Right. I mean, I would much rather see a Darth Vader who is absolutely brutal towards anyone standing in his way, and not just random civilians who weren't even blocking the road, mind you.
Exactly.
He's just grabbing them for the fun of it, it seems like.
So then, basically, from here, we do eventually get to them fighting. To him and Obi-Wan having their, like, what is that? Is that the first full lightsaber battle we've seen on the show? Because they teased it in episode 2 with Reva, and it didn't happen because he got away. What did you think of the lightsaber fight?
It seemed a little bit underwhelming, honestly. I mean, there's a very slow build up to it, which also felt weird because, again, Darth Vader could very quickly seek him out, and you would think he wouldn't waste time and let him almost escape.
So was that a plot hole that was he able to cloak his location? Like,
no, I don't think so. I think they wanted it to appear as Darth Vader's kind of toying with him.
Oh,
originally I had the feeling that maybe they were like some kind of plot hole like that, but because he goes into this diatribe about how he's going to make Obi-Wan suffer, like it seemed like he wanted to draw it out.
Does this create plot holes with the future material?
Well, yes. So I talked last time about the issue with Obi-Wan meeting Leia.
Yes,
and the same thing exists with him and Anakin, which I said we're going to get this, and here it is. So when Obi-Wan and Anakin meet in A New Hope, Darth Vader says to him, "When I left you, I was but the learner, and now I am the master."
Yeah.
Now
they could still retcon that by the end here.
You could perhaps, but you could retcon this by having Obi-Wan,
win again,
destroy him. But we didn't see that in this one today.
But I'm saying, but if they engage again in the episode and he wins again, in proving that he's still superior, that makes that dialogue in the future make sense.
But then you have another problem, which is Obi-Wan defeats Anakin again, and once again decides not to. Like, at this point, the first time it's like, okay, I'm going to spare him because it looks like he's dying on his own and I don't have the heart to do it. But I would think if you defeat him again, you would,
It'll have to be like he literally escapes rather than lets him live.
Yeah. But then it seems unlikely too, because you almost want Obi-Wan to fail in this, because that's what would become the impetus for him realizing that he has to pass the torch to Luke, and he has to train Luke, and that's why that's so important.
So there's all sorts of narrative problems, and just the fact that they're forcing the show into existence in a timeline like you said last week, that's just not very interesting. To be honest, there's all sorts of narrative, like structural issues with where the source material is in the future to where they are now, and they're forcing a story through that doesn't really work.
Right. So. And again, I understand why they're doing it, because they want to tell a story that's more interesting, but. Yep. Again, there's other time periods that you could go to. But.
So what do you think that they should do? First of all, is there anything else about the episode that stuck out to you?
Yeah, so I want to talk a bit more about this big fight scene, which is effectively the climax of the episode.
Okay.
So it's a little bit odd. Obi-Wan in the end gets away, of course, because otherwise, it would end at episode 3. But it's very strange that he does so. I mean, they have a pretty brief lightsaber battle in which Obi-Wan gets pretty well and truly beaten. I mean, he's like on the ground by the end of it. And then, as I alluded to before, Darth Vader kind of taunts him and he tries to set him on fire. He does set him on fire a little bit. But then Tala comes back and distracts him. But at this point, Darth Vader has also brought like a troop, maybe 20 or so stormtroopers to grab Obi-Wan. And somehow Tala and this droid that she has get him out of there.
Yeah.
Which we just saw 5 minutes ago that he had no problem force lifting, force choking Obi-Wan. What was stopping him from just doing that again and grabbing him and pulling him over?
He wasn't visible.
That's
why.
The vagueness of the powers always leads itself to like issues with stuff like this, right? Like the all the issues with like what characters are capable of that's not shown in continuity always ends up being a problem in these types of stories.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be the case because they were pretty consistent about the quote-unquote rules of what you could do with the Force and what you couldn't, and they've sort of bent that since the new trilogy.
Yep.
But even here, like I said, we see what Darth Vader is capable of doing. If there wasn't a scene where he was grabbing him and lifting him in the air, you would say, well, Obi-Wan was using the Force to resist that. So
yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he was able to do that before being lit on fire, so I don't see how he would do it after the fact.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I don't like. To me, it's like I said, I'm very lucky that I don't watch. That I've only seen the movies really, and I'm not really a fan of. I've watched The Mandalorian. That's the only one. I haven't watched Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched any of the other the Disney Plus stuff. So to me, like having less connection with the source material allows me to turn my brain off and kind of just watch it as is for what it is. There's some decent visuals. I think it looks cheap for the most part in certain areas. Like a lot of it doesn't look like. The scene where she's walking into the room with the Inquisitors, I hate that scene because it's just so clearly it's very clearly a soundstage and very clearly all CGI, and I hate stuff like that. That's my personal. I'm just not a huge fan of.
I try not to nitpick.
I'm a nitpicker.
That's what this is for.
That's
true.
What are you talking about? Like those types of scenes, I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me because I'm like, she's walking into this room and there's very clearly not actually people around her, and it disconnects me from what's going on. It makes it harder. And like a good an actor with a good script and with tight dialogue and good direction can pull you back in during scenes like that. And I don't think that Moses Ingram has been given that material to be able to pull you back in when scenes like that are happening. Ewan McGregor seems to pull it off when he's interacting in these like horribly written scenes or in these environments that very clearly look CGI to me. His ability to emote on camera pulls you back in, and the score helps with that when it's done right, but there's not a lot of that either. If anything, like the John Williams theme is good, but the rest of it is very bland. There's not much really else that stuck out to me other than like I said, Reva at the end when she's like she killed the person that was supposed to collect Leia and get away. The guy's on the ground and she's like trying to sound menacing, and it sounds like a barista at a coffee shop trying to be menacing.
So we're basically we're left with this cliffhanger of Leia being captured by the third sister, and it kind of cuts there, and we will see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to drive home the point about this situation with Darth Vader letting Obi-Wan get away. I mean, this is 10 years of Darth Vader and his Inquisitors searching for Obi-Wan, and it seems that did he just give up at that moment?
He's like, I'm over it. He's like I got stuff to do.
We'll get him next time.
Yeah, we'll pack up. We'll regroup and try again. Actually, no. What he did is he's like, we've got 3 episodes left. We gotta let him get away. That's
true.
Literally, it's like
it just felt so long and drawn out and phoned in.
Yes, that I think that's my number one. Like all of it lacks the grandiosity of the films. Like I said, Ewan McGregor seems to pull it off. Indira Varma's character, Tala. Like I said, it's very hard. Like those are the only 2 characters that really seem to. And hearing James Earl Jones' voice. Are the only things that really got any emotional response out of me at all. The rest of it feels so paint by numbers. It's almost difficult to sit through.
Yeah, I just don't feel that it's enough to hold up the rest of the pieces.
No, we'll continue watching. But is there anything else specific that you wanted to talk about?
There's one more thing I want to mention because I said I would talk about this, and this is about the Grand Inquisitor. So, the reason I didn't bring this up last time. So in episode 2 of the show, we see the Grand Inquisitor get stabbed. Possibly killed, possibly not by the third sister.
I guess they didn't really...
They didn't really say, and the reason it's a question also is because there's a TV show called Rebels, which takes place 5 years after this, in which the Grand Inquisitor is the main character. So, presumably he lives, but it's like, I expected we were going to get that fake out, and he would come back in this episode. Maybe he ends up being the one
that takes out Reva.
Perhaps so. I don't know if this counts as future spoilers for what could happen, because I don't know, but
that would
canonically,
make sense.
he should be alive.
Is Rebels considered canon?
Yes.
That was removed at one time and then re-added to canon.
That show was created post Disney.
Okay, so to me, like maybe he comes back later. He wasn't dead. Somebody, maybe what was it? Kumail Nanjiani's character like saves him. And then the guy comes back for no reason, even though he said he was turning over a new leaf or whatever.
Right.
And then he comes back and he takes out. So Obi-Wan defeats Vader in the end, or gets away from Vader at the end of episode 6, and the Grand Inquisitor comes back and takes out Reva and kind of makes her pay for her ambition and her hubris.
Perhaps. I don't even want to make a guess at this point. But I guess what I'm curious to see is if they bring back the Grand Inquisitor within this show, or he's just sort of taken out of commission until Rebels.
Well, I mean, if they're looking for continuity, you would think he might come back at the end.
You would think so, but I don't know how much space they're going to have for it because, I mean, part of the plotline they're going after is Reva's rise to power and her journey. And
so where does she end up after?
I don't know.
In the canon.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
If she's not important to the future material, and the Grand Inquisitor is.
So I didn't watch Rebels, so she may be in there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on that next time.
Okay. Yeah.
But she's already contending with the 5th brother. She's sort of contending with Vader because, she wants part of the glory of capturing Obi-Wan, right? So to have room in 3 episodes to bring back the Grand Inquisitor and give her another person to bump heads with, we'll see.
Yep. It's somehow both very boring and very crowded and short for time all at once. Like it feels like they could be using their time more effectively. I don't need to see a bunch of scenes of Obi-Wan and Leia like bantering as they walk down like what looks like essentially like an Arizona desert. That's what it looked like.
It was very Arizona.
Yeah, it looked like they filmed in Arizona. Like I don't need to see a bunch of quippy dialogue between those two. I think that they could be using. It's
supposed to be endearing.
It's not. It's not really. It's not working for me. I think they could be using their time and their story more effectively, and I don't think they're doing that right now. Yeah. I'm hoping that picks up in future episodes.
One last thing surprising to me: we're halfway through the show, and we haven't seen anything of Luke.
Nope. Well, it's the bait and switch, like people were talking about.
Well, I mean, maybe something will happen in the next 3 episodes. But
what do you think that could be?
You got to ask me these questions beforehand so I can think about it and be prepared.
I'm just doing my job, man.
I don't know, but I'm excited to find out.
Well, we will see where that goes. So I don't know if I'd say if you're already watching it, watch it, but it's not going to be a fast-paced thrill ride. It's going to be a somewhat boring slog with a fight at the end that was kind of underwhelming in my opinion. So take with that what you will.
I would agree with that.
All right. Did anything else, or did you have any more opinions? She looks like she couldn't care less about it. It's awesome.
I'm trying so hard to care.
It's hard.
Well, you're coming in from a perspective that it's really hard to get into the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not invested in the characters, but I feel like these ancillary shows are supposed to hook you in to
they're not doing their job by not hooking in somebody that has no idea about, like, you should be able to watch it and enjoy it for what it is just as a program, and they're not really pulling that off.
It's
in the
like
way
you
that
were
it's
saying,
being
it's
delivered.
like a fan movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.